Hey, what's up guys? Cliff, TrailGrid Pro. In our previous Alpine video for the 4Runner, we talked about that we'd show you an overview of how I integrated the Alpine dash cam, the Alpine front camera, and the Alpine rear camera. So today, I'm gonna take you through a quick walkthrough that doesn't show you necessarily step by step how to install it, but gives you the overview so that you can do it in your garage. Now, in the future, we will have a comprehensive install video, but we're gonna be selling these as a bundle right out of the gate. So we wanted to shoot this video so that you could get a good overview of how to install these products with your Alpine bundle. So let's get started. First, we're gonna start with the dash cam. So with the dash cam, it works just like any normal dash cam. It's obviously gonna sit up here on your dash. It has double-sided tape. You remove the double-sided tape and mount it. In the 4Runner, there's a great guiding line, which is this piece right up here, which is a factory piece. You can just rest the dash cam right next to it, which is perfect. Now, once you secure your dash cam, there's a wire that comes out of the dash cam. And so the point is we need to get that wire from here behind the dash cam to behind the radio. So that's what we're trying to accomplish here. So all you do is you take the wire, run it up to the headliner console, use a panel tool to hide the wire. You're running the wire across the headliner console. And when you get to this point, you've got the A-pillar, which is the airbag. So you want to be careful here, and you're just tucking the wire down here across behind this piece of plastic. So once you get to this point, all you're going to be doing, because you're going to have the wire there, is you're going to remove the weather stripping just here on the side. Just like that. You know, as you go down, removing the weather stripping, tucking the wire all the way down the weather stripping until you get to the kick panel down here. And just so you can see, this weather stripping just pops right back into place really easily. So when you remove it, it's not going to be a problem to put it back. So basically, when you get down to this point at the kick panel, you want to remove the kick panel here. And the way that you do that is you start with this piece right here. So you want to remove this. This just pops off, okay? So we've got this piece removed. That gives us access to the factory wiring channel here. And then we need to remove this kick panel right back here. There is a, you're not gonna be able to show it on camera, but I promise you it's there. It's a little dial. I'm gonna unscrew it and then show it to you. It's one dial that holds the kick panel in place. Okay, so this is the one dial that holds the kick panel in place. So you're just going to be unscrewing this, and then you have access to remove the kick panel, which is this piece right here. And actually what you're going to do is behind there is where you're going to hide all your excess dash camera wiring. Right behind this kick panel, not behind the head unit. So what I recommend you do is run the wiring for the dash cam, so the plug, underneath the steering column here. Get a wire fish, you have to do this once you have the head unit out, a wire fish from behind the head unit down to the floorboard, attach your dash camera plug to the wire fish and pull it through, okay? And then from there, when you pull it through, determine the amount of slack that you need, which is probably 6 to 8 inches of slack that you need behind the head unit, and then hide and the rest of the wiring behind here. You will have to wire manage, so you want to, you know, obviously get it nice and neat, and then use a zip tie to put it all together, and you can fit it all over here. So you don't have a ton of wiring behind your head unit. And frankly, that's basically it. We showed you in the previous video, and we'll show you a little overlay here of how easy it is. Once you run the wire for the dash cam, you're plugging in only a few connectors: power, ground, accessory, and then also, of course, the 2 connectors that are required in order to get the video feed from the dash cam, and then also all of the communication from the dash camera to the head unit. And that's it. So super easy install, and we make all of that plug and play for you in advance. When you buy an Alpine bundle, we'll already pre-wire it so that you can connect the power, ground, and accessory and the other 2 connectors from the dash cam. So it's a super easy install. All right, next up on the agenda for today is the super sweet front camera that Alpine offers, that we'll be offering with our Alpine bundles, which we've mounted right here. Now this is the TRD Pro Heritage Grille. It's pretty easy to install it right under here, underneath the Toyota logo. If you have the actual Toyota logo style grille, you can mount it right underneath the factory logo. There's a great point to mount it underneath there. Now, I already had the Anytime front camera kit with my vehicle, so it was a perfect mounting point for the new Alpine front camera. I did have to open up the hole for the camera to a 15/32 to allow the wire from the camera to fit through, so you'll want to do that. If you're installing a front camera for the first time, 15/32 should do the trick. So I drill the hole first and I pull the slack from the camera through the hole, and then what you do is you have to remove this top piece right here by pushing down all of these buttons on top. They all look the same. They're just little tabs. So we're pushing those down one at a time, okay? And then you can just pull them up. They just come right out. So just do that one at a time. These have been removed a lot. Yours may not come out quite as easy. So you can use a panel tool to help you get them out. But over time, they will certainly get easier to remove. All right, and then this whole top piece comes out. Now for this job, it will definitely make sense to, at a minimum, at least loosen your front bumper, if not remove it totally. And we have a video already for that. I'll link it up above on how to remove and or just loosen your front bumper. But you're gonna wanna do that because it's gonna make it a lot easier to fish your wire through this front grille. And then once you fish the wire through, all you're gonna be doing is keeping the wire on the outside of the driver's side of the engine bay. So I can actually show you our wire line, which it's coming right along here, right along the side. You see it kind of pick up here and zip tied. So it's running right along here, and then there's a grommet down behind that. It's a little tough to see, but it's down there, I promise. It's actually, we'll link another video above of how to run it through that wire. And then at that point, once it's in the cabin, so the front camera wire is on your floorboard, all you're doing is, again, same concept. Running the wire across the bottom of the steering column, securing it with zip ties. Wire fish from behind the head unit. Grab the connector from the front camera. Pull it through so that you can access the front camera wire behind the head unit. And then we've already showed you in another video, which we'll overlay here, of how you make the connection for the front camera. That's it. You don't have to run separate power, separate ground. It just plugs right into the Alpine bundle and is super easy. And voila, you have a high performance front camera on your Toyota 4Runner. All right, we've knocked out the dash cam overview. We've knocked out the front camera overview. Let's go to the rear camera. Now, the way that I mounted this is a bird's eye rear camera. Just mounted it right here on top of the rear fender. It uses super sturdy double-sided tape in order to secure it up here. And I've been testing this for months, and it's beautiful. It's perfect. It stays cold, warm, everywhere. And it's pretty awesome. The view that I get is tremendous. So I have a tire that sits back here that blocks my factory rear cam, so it's pretty much useless. So this is crucial. Now this also, even if you don't have a tire that blocks your factory rear camera, this is definitely a good option because the picture is beautiful. It's super clear, and it also has tons of extras that you can view. Panoramic, you can do a hitch mounted view, all sorts of views with the rear camera that you don't have with the factory camera. So let's walk through how I mounted this. So for starters, there's a piece right here, a plastic piece that is actually just held together by tabs. That's the first thing that you want to remove, and you can actually just grab it with both your hands and it pops right off. Okay, so this entire piece just pulls off. It's held together by tabs, so we'll put that aside. So next what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the rear spoiler, and it's super easy as well. So first, to do that, we just wanna lift the back gate. So there are, underneath some grommets, some 10mm bolts that we need to remove. There's one grommet here we need to remove. There's one here. There's one here. And there's one here. So I'll start over here, and you can just get these off with your fingers. Let's go one at a time. third one. All right, we're gonna use a ratchet with a 10mm on it. Whatever you use, whether it's manual or powered, you're gonna need an extension for this because the 10mm bolts are up and in there. So let's get started removing these. Now be careful taking these out. You don't want these 10 mils going to oblivion. Do the next one. Again, they're just up underneath here. You can definitely see it. Again, be slow coming out. You don't want to lose these. And over here. Lastly, just up under here. All right, now that the 4 10mm bolts are out, let's gingerly close your rear gate. All right, so now this entire piece is loose. It's not being held in by anything, and you can actually just pull it right out, okay? So now your entire rear spoiler is removed. All right, so at this point, once you have the spoiler removed, it's gonna be held on by one connector, which is this right here, which you just need to depress the tab and remove, okay? So now, for you, your entire spoiler will be removed from your vehicle. Now, mine isn't because I have the rear camera already wired here. So we're gonna use some cutters and get these zip ties removed, and I'll show you how I did everything else. All right, now that we have the spoiler removed, one plug that you won't have from factory is this right here, because this is the rear camera extension wire that I've run through the entire vehicle. So let me just walk through with you how I did that. Okay, so you're gonna wanna do this with the window down. It's just easier. So this is the rear camera connector that I've run through the entire vehicle. So what I've done is this is ran underneath the window weather stripping here. So it's just run underneath there, and then you're gonna see it pop out right here. So I've run it from here through the weather stripping here. Now, then it's coming down here to this grommet right here, okay? And this grommet, this wire and this grommet, I put it on the back side here so because it can really get secured, runs just into right underneath the headliner console. So that's where that runs. So at this point, you know, that's how I ran my wire through the vehicle and out to the back, through the vehicle that way. So I wanted to show you how everything was set up in the rear of the vehicle first, just to give you a general idea of how this all works. And now I'm gonna walk from front to back so I can show you how I ran the extension wire from the rear camera kit from behind the head unit to end up right up here so that you can easily plug in your rear camera that you've mounted to your rear spoiler. So with the rear camera, the first thing that I did is there's an extension wire that comes with the rear camera. Obviously the point of that is to be able to run it from behind the head unit to the back of the vehicle. So it's very long. So what I did is I had the end of the extension wire, so the part that actually connects to the head unit here, and fished the rest of the wire through to the floorboard, okay? So I fished that through with a wire fish. There's a channel that you can run it right from behind the head unit to the floorboard. And then I took the slack and I ran it underneath the steering column, okay? So then at that point, I have my wire that I'm ready to start fishing to the back of the vehicle. And same concept that we did with the dash cam, we're gonna hide this wire for starters behind the weather stripping here. Okay, so this weather stripping, you can just pull it out. All right, all of this weather stripping just pulls out. As you can see there, I have plenty of wires behind the weather stripping because I've got things going to and from throughout the vehicle. So all I've done is taken that wire down here, remove the weather stripping, and little by little, run the wire behind the weather stripping. So we can, you know, you can pull it here, just like you did up there. There's, as a matter of fact, a wire right there. That's my rear camera wire. Back to about this point, okay? Now, this is where the weather stripping meets the B pillar, which is right here. There's also your seat belt configuration is all behind there. So all I did is start to fish the wire through here, and once I get to the B pillar here, I then take the slack. So mind you, I have the extra slack and then just the slack that I know I need to get past through this point right here. So I'm passing it through and I'm tucking it down with my panel tool, and then I run it across here, and then I start to use the rear door weather stripping. I remove that to hide the rest of the wire. So now I'm hiding the wire underneath the weather stripping here, all the way till I get to this point here, and I'm hiding the wire behind here, all the way to the back of the vehicle, okay? So I'm hiding the wire behind all this plastic here. You can see this gap here. So I'm hiding the wire back here, up through here, and then once I get to this point up here, I'm just pushing all the slack. It's basically all of my excess slack just lives underneath the headliner, okay? It's just all through there. And then I pulled the wire through this grommet out here, and here it is. So this is what I fished through the entire vehicle. So this install is really all about just fishing the wire from the front of the vehicle to the rear of the vehicle. And I've showed you the path that I took, but frankly, if you have a better path, go ahead and use it. This is just what I chose to do so that I could hook up a bird's eye rear camera from Alpine, which is, by the way, super sweet. Okay, so here's the rear camera just to show you how we mounted it. And I recommend not mounting it until you actually take the fender off. In the middle of the light right here, so you can make sure you can center it, there's actually a little notch, which is kind of a guiding light so that you can ensure you put your rear camera right in the middle of this light, because that notch is right in the middle of the entire rear spoiler. And again, this is double-sided tape and it's super sticky. I've been testing it, it works, it's fine. It'll do the trick. And you just put it right there in the middle, mount it, and then this view is adjustable. You can move it up and down. So you can really dial into the view whether you have a lifted vehicle or a vehicle with a rear mounted tire. Again, you can customize it to your personal vehicle needs and wants. All right, guys, so at this point, it's obviously time to mount the rear spoiler back on, and you can just do the reverse of the disassembly. And just one thing you want to make sure that you do is you plug in, connect your rear camera to the extension harness, and then you definitely want to zip tie up your wires just to keep it nice and clean. But the finished result is super clean. I think you'll love it. It's going to be a great rear camera. If you want to pick this up at the TrailGrid Pro shop, you can do it at www.trailgridpro.com. And as always, guys, have a blast out there.